All right. So for our third episode, I'll be talking to my good friend Rothie today about fitness and dating during the pandemic. Hope you enjoy.
Woo! All right. Thanks for joining me, Rothie, aka Speedy. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yes, this is October. What is today now? The
15th.
Wow. Crazy. This month is just flying by. Whew. Anywho, I thought it would be great to start off the conversation talking about your fitness journey. Give the audience a bit of background in regards to your history of fitness and how you've been doing some pretty cool stuff during the pandemic to keep yourself fit.
Yeah. And it's a great topic just because with the entire COVID, like health is obviously wealth and very important. And I think in regards to fitness, there's this conception, and I know everybody wants to have that body aesthetically. So backtracking, my experience as being a personal trainer for the past 4 years, and I still do it here and then because I just love sharing my passion with other people. So I don't train anymore due to COVID, but pretty much all coaches need coaching. And even though I'm a personal trainer, you'll assume, okay, she has everything down, but I did hire a nutrition coach. And this isn't a paid sponsorship, but they are called Macros.
What are they called?
Macros Inc.
Okay,
Macros. So
Inc.
I'm not sure if you're aware, just a context of what macros are, your macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fat, and that you log your food and make sure you hit those goals to get the body or body fat that you want. And it sounds very intricate and a lot of time consuming, but with my coach, it's most likely because of accountability. So I coached with him last year, and this year, which kind of segues into the dating thing after I was dumped, I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to focus on? And I realized I should focus on myself. So I went back to coaching with my Macros Inc. And essentially it's just that you weigh yourself every day. Once a week, you measure yourself and you write out answers to his questions about how your week is, what your challenges are, and you take progress photos. So I started in April. It's October now. I've lost only 5 pounds, but my progress pictures show otherwise, and my inches are decreasing. And it's not just like logging my food, but it's kind of like a complicated concept. But it's easier said than done, where you eat when you're full, and the next time you eat is when you're hungry.
Interesting.
So, okay, let's take it to you personally. Do you eat or snack when you're bored?
It depends on the circumstances and my environment, but generally, yes.
Right. And, like you're eating when you're bored or this, and then you categorize foods that are bad, like junk food, and foods that are good. And how many times have you heard people say, is this healthy? Is this good for you?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Like, we work together and you would make your own food with vegetables, and that's great. But for the general population, we categorize bad foods versus good foods, but they're not bad or good. They're just food. And so it's like the calories that you're supposed to take in is like, it's 3,500 calories to lose a pound of fat. So pretty much he's keeping my calorie in check. And so I haven't been logging my food. It's just the accountability part where, okay, I have to check in tomorrow. Am I going to eat like crap? So, right. So yeah, it's great. And my coach, he gives me extra, articles about just, dieting and just the mental aspect. So to be honest, it's more mental than physical. And I still eat chicken nuggets. I can still drink. I just don't make myself feel bad if I eat a bad food.
So is food consumption the main component? Like, is there like a workout incorporated into this as well?
So they do have a service where you add workouts, but because I do know how to program my own workout, that I don't. So in regards to working out, I'm kettlebell certified. So I have a pair of 16 kilo and 18 kilo kettlebells because I don't plan on going into the gym anytime soon. And the workouts that I program for myself are strength-based and kind of like high intensity interval training. So the time that you have rest is very short. So it's 20 minutes, you get full body and you're sore the next day.
Very cool. And how often would you say you do that in a week?
I would say 5 times a week, but I go through phases where I don't want to do it. So I recently started up with outdoor group fitness class, and that just keeps myself accountable. But other than that, I mean, that's the hardest part. Like the clients that I have, the reason why they pay for me is because they don't go to the gym by themselves, so you got to find out what works for you and know what doesn't and when you should hire a professional to help you with it.
Right. I think that I'm probably grouped into that particular set of people where it's just very hard to maintain that routine, keep yourself motivated to do it, 3 times a week, 4 times, whatever it may be. But I feel like getting into the routine is probably the hardest thing. Do you think that when you do get into that routine and when you're, doing the right things as far as eating and working out, how does it impact you mentally? Do you feel like you're in a better place?
Oh, yes. I love that question because we all think of we want to look better during the summer in our bathing suit, and we quantify our goals to say, I want to lose 10 pounds. But overall, you just feel so good. And I have clients that are 50 years old and they say, Rothie, I'm married and I have kids. I'm not trying to be like the next bodybuilder, but I want to make sure my blood pressure is low, my cholesterol is low, and that I can be strong enough to do the daily things I need to do without help. And I feel when you change your mindset to being aesthetic and becoming a lifestyle change, that makes a big difference.
Right. And do you think that, and this might be just like a cultural thing, especially in America, and, I guess in the world you could argue as well, but do you think that we conflate the two categories of, being healthy and fit and like having, a picturesque body? Like, do you think that those two things are symbiotic, or do you think that they're kind of in a way a bit separate?
I feel it's society. I mean, just speaking about, social media or magazines, you see these people that are very fit and that we idolize this, even with models, they're skinny or whatever. But I don't know, people kind of just idolize generally about the aesthetics, but it also becomes like it depends on the age. If you're younger versus when you're older, then your mindset changes.
Right, right. So what do you think is like an attainable goal for someone like me who is lazy as fuck? I work out like here and there. I do bike. But like someone who wants to get into a routine, wants to, slowly but surely, build up their stamina and like get into like a good set of workouts that they can do fairly often. What are some baby step things that you can do to slowly but surely become like
And
you?
the key word that you said is baby steps, because we think, okay, I'm going to hire a trainer and then I'm going to look like this and I'm going to put a time frame. It's going to take me 3 months. And then 3 months comes in, and during those 3 months, you don't want to work out. You're human. There's stress in life. There's everything going on, and then you give up. So what I tell my clients when I used to train is just one goal at a time. And it's all about showing up, show up in life and show up in your training. And you have these small, smart, attainable, timely goals. So, and also you have to be able to be honest with yourself and know what your goals are and know if you can get to those goals yourself, because we're here to write your program. We're here to make sure you don't get hurt. We're here to make sure you show up, but you're putting the work in. I'm not working out with these clients. I just watch them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think, because like the thing that I feel like I get like out of working out, especially like when I do long runs and everything, it just helps you to produce those endorphins, and really it's a good way to start your day. I think when I think of days where like I go for a long bike ride or go for a run and then I work, I feel like I have a lot more energy. I feel like I'm in a better place mentally. But to your point, and like we were saying, definitely, everyone is different, and you just need to find that happy middle where you can get what you need out of it, but it's not becoming too much of a chore where you don't feel, I guess you could say, ambitious about it or motivated to be able to do it, like making sure that you're getting what you need to get, but it's not taking over too much of your life, and everyone's different. There's some people who can just work out like 3 hours a day for like 6 days out of the week, and they're just like, this isn't enough. And then somebody else, 20 minutes a day, they're like, this is way too much.
Yes. It's knowing what your threshold is, but the end of the day and the overall goal is that this is going to be a lifestyle change. And I think that's kind of a hard concept for the general population to grasp. And I'm not speaking for them. It's just from experience of training different types of people financially. But the client that I did have, he was a partner for a law firm, and we trained 3 times a week, and he was 50 years old. But it's because he told me, this is the only time I don't get to use my phone. He's like, it's the only time I don't answer emails from clients, and it's your me time. It's self-care.
Right. So important. Shifting gears.
Yes.
So earlier on, you highlighted that you started to get back into training and getting the training and everything after your breakup to distract yourself and everything. So during this pandemic, have you been going on any dates? What has that been like?
Oh my goodness. Well, you're not single, right, Julian?
Correct.
So, I mean, I've been talking to other single people, and they've been FaceTiming, listening to podcasts. So not once have I FaceTimed with anyone, but I am on Bumble and Hinge. And the first rebound date I had, we were talking about the first 90 days. And it was great. The first 90, no, not the first 90 days, 90 Day Fiance.
Right.
That
Love
show.
that show.
So we're texting back and forth, and I think it's great. And he finally asked to see in person, but this was the peak of the pandemic, and I lived with my grandma and my parents. I'm like, oh my goodness. But we decided to meet up at a park. And it was really sweet because he brought me donuts, because that came in conversation. But and he brought his dog, but it was raining, it was cold. And when I first saw him, he didn't look like his picture, and there was just no spark there. So that fizzled out. And then I moved out in June, met someone on Hinge, and it was great. And we went on 3 dates, but it was the type where I don't expect somebody to text you every day, but he'll be ghosted for like a week and say, hi, I miss you. I'd love to see you. And I'm 33 now, and I know he's looking for something casual, and I'm not going to spend a Friday night where I can just stay at home and eat Ben & Jerry's. Like, I'm not going to do that.
and like, well, first off, one thing I'm curious to know, you said you're on Hinge and Bumble right now. What are your thoughts between those two? Do you have a preference? Do you think that, you have more luck on one versus the other? Like, what's the deal?
I'm cracking up because you and I both work in marketing, and that we have Google and Bing, the platforms, and we have the data to see which one's working best.
Yeah.
So my conversion rate conversion rate meaning the guys that I talk to that eventually end out in dates are a lot higher on Bumble before the pandemic. But speaking about the pandemic, it's actually higher on Hinge. But the guys that I am attracted to are on Bumble.
Interesting. So you have more success on Hinge right now during the pandemic. Yeah. Prior to the pandemic, it was Bumble. But you're saying right now, even though you're having more success on Hinge, the men that you're actually more interested in are on Bumble.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you brought up a good point earlier about how we're both in marketing. And one thing that I remember from both those apps that I find interesting from what you're saying right now, I know that Bumble is definitely catered more for women because, women get to decide who they want to engage with. Like as a guy, you can like somebody, but you can't speak to them till they like you.
Right.
So I think that makes sense. One thing I'm curious though about is you're saying that you find that you are more interested in the men on Bumble. Is there like a personality trait difference of the men that you see on there versus Hinge?
That's a good question. I think it's more the physical traits, which is oh yeah, sorry. I'm just being honest. So yeah, physical traits, but the conversations are actually more meaningful on Hinge, but because they can message you first. So I think there might be a difference with women pursuing the men. And I like Hinge because sometimes I don't have anything to say and I want you to pursue me because the egg does not chase the sperm.
Wow, that's a really good line. Did you just think of that right
now? Yeah.
Wow, that's very impressive. That's a good point, though. I guess it really depends on the personality trait of the woman of if you would rather have people pursue you or have it a bit more of a playing field in your favor as far as starting the conversation and everything.
Right.
Out of curiosity, the messages that you're getting, the conversations that you're having, do you feel like, since we're in a pandemic, that has changed those conversations in any way?
So initially I would send a message like, how's the pandemic treating you? Like, I have nothing else to say. My pickup lines aren't great. Like, I used to send pickup lines like, if you were a bowl of ice cream, I'd spoon you. And that didn't evolve to anything. That's not funny.
Well, that's how you'd start the conversation.
I try to be punny because I have a humor and if like, whatever, but sometimes they don't get it. So I learned my lesson this year to hold off on my sarcasm. But I think there were some men that obviously want something casual. And I think I got one message that was I was so thrown off. He was like very into getting to know me. And then all of a sudden he pops the question like, can I ask you a sexual question? And I said, no. And that was that. Like, yeah.
And what about like once you get over the hump of having the conversation and talking for about like a day or so, what is it like as far as getting to the point of video chatting and like actually seeing the person, given that it's not as easy to meet up or like there's certain hurdles that certain people have?
I've actually only been on 3 dates and I'm going on one tonight. Woo! So I from Hinge, but I've never done FaceTime because I mean, they just really never asked me. And I think now that I live on my own and I'm in Jersey City and I don't have family to worry about COVID, that they do ask me for drinks. But I was recently, usually you go on a dry spell and then all of a sudden you match with these guys and they ask you for a drink. So recently I hit like jackpot and I hear the guys are like, do you want to go out for drinks? But I actually haven't had a text conversation with them. So I spoke to my therapist and she even told me, don't exclude those guys that ask you out for a drink. It's not a red flag. They're probably shy. But these guys that do ask me for a drink don't plan a date. So I'm going to ask you why you think that's the case.
So they ask you, like, is your question basically why are they not asking you on a date, and why are they just asking for the?
Or yeah, they're like, do you want to get a drink? And I'll say yes. And not one of them have been like, okay, let's get a drink or meet here.
Interesting. So they start the conversation in regards to it, but then they don't fall through as far, like they don't end up having like an actual plan. Like they don't.
Yeah. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, all right, let's go down the list of inquiries that I have to kind of narrow down why this might be happening.
Yes, I'd like a male point of view.
Right. So are these men at least are they 30 and over?
Yeah, my settings is like 30 and up.
Okay. So. Are these Caucasian gentlemen?
Most of them.
Most of them. Okay.
I have to look back, but I would say yes.
Okay. And like, are these guys like they like, you know, colorful pasts as far as relationships? Like, have any of them been married or anything before?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've ever matched with someone that's separated or divorced or have kids.
Okay. All right. So I'm asking all these things to kind of see if there's any sort of excuse that, you know, could be why they're doing what they're doing. Honestly, well, first off, is this something that's you know, isolated solely like during pandemic, or have you experienced that before this?
Oh, okay. Let me think, because the last time I was dating was before my ex, which was a year ago. But I can clearly say that this is definitely just the pandemic.
All right. So it sounds like, because like I feel like during this particular time, everyone is, you know, just has been cooped up in their home for so long. So like I feel like there's definitely a lot of communication, a lot of people matching with a bunch of people. Like I feel like, you know, women generally get more matches than men because, you know, men are just like, you know, crazy fiends on it. So I would expect that, you know, even on the flip side, that they're probably also getting a lot more matches and having a lot more things in their inbox than they probably would have had prior to the pandemic. So maybe these guys are just like all over the place and just like talking to so many people simultaneously. And they're just like spitting out like, hey, you want to get a drink to like a bunch of people and just seeing where it sticks. And maybe they're kind of looking to see like how many of the women perhaps will be more pursuant of them and really, you know, take the time to figure out where and when and all those other things. And I feel like that's something that's, you know, more prevalent now. I feel like a lot of women are a bit more upfront and are willing to, you know, take the initiative of setting up the actual transaction. But the fact that all of them are doing that, transaction, whatever. But the fact that all of them are doing that is a bit odd, because I would think that at least one of them would like have a plan and be like, hey, I know this great pub, let's go there. They have some good snacks, blah, blah, blah. But like the fact that they're all like super vague and everything, like it's like, are you even interested in dating right now?
Right. And I like that you said that, because I mean, if I could just export all of this on an Excel sheet like we usually do, it is all of them that say, hey, do you want to grab a drink? And then there's no plans to grab a drink. So, okay. And I think it's also because, like you said, we're all cooped up and I live alone with my cat. And I feel I don't have this interaction with people that you're so easy to say, let's grab a drink and then just don't do it. But I would imagine, I don't know how else everybody else is dating during the pandemic, but I would imagine because we are so closed off to working from home, not going into restaurants and bars, that you just crave that social interaction. So my question is, craving that social interaction and you're on a date, is that different from when you are pre-COVID? And the reason I say that question is the last guy I went on a date with, I've just been home alone for 2 weeks. I wasn't excited to go on a date with him, but the reason why I went is because I get to actually talk to a person. So I wonder if that changes, how you interact on a first date now versus before COVID.
I would imagine it would. And I think that's the thing that makes it so strange that they're not as engaged like when they initiate that they want to meet up. Like I would think that, prior to COVID, and this doesn't and this is not just for dating, but just in general human interaction. I feel like it's something that we all took for granted, before this happened. Like I know that I used to complain all the time about my commute and like getting on the train and all these other things, and now I would kill to be able to get on a packed train full of annoying people and having the Mexican mariachi bust in and start playing on their guitars and stuff.
They're so good.
When you've heard it about 30 million times, Rothie, it kind of loses its charm.
Oh man,
that's definitely for tourists. But I would think that would like want you, that would make you want to have that interaction more so than prior to
right.
the pandemic. So, and that makes me actually want to ask your opinion on, do you think that this pandemic, dating and taking dating out of the equation, just like social, like just in general, like, do you think that it's impacted men and women differently? Like, do you think that we're processing and the way it's making us behave is maybe a bit different from each other?
So I can't speak for the men because I'm not one. But you might have to speak to that. But for women, so you're asking generally speaking and not just dating?
Well, both. So dating and just generally speaking, do you feel that, the pandemic has impacted you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we can't even kind of define what normal is nowadays, because before pandemic, we're changing, the entire world is changing. But specifically speaking about dating, I feel for me, we have the texting conversation, but I don't want a pen pal, that I want to see this person in real life, because living alone, you're just alone. And regards to not dating, now that I can see my friends, that I just feel like myself, I can interact with someone, I can actually speak. And that's why I have a job in the city on the weekends, and it's just a front desk job. It doesn't pay that much, but I want to get out there for social interaction. So we are social beings, and being quarantined is not good for us.
No, yeah, 100%. I'll guess, I'll make a hypothesis on the dating side, because I wouldn't know, but on just on the human side, and everyone's of course different, but for me personally, I feel like it's been really hard to not have that work environment where you're surrounded by people. I feel like, me personally, and I feel like a good chunk of people probably do better in an environment where they're able to, interact face to face with people versus being isolated. I feel like, especially the first few months where we couldn't go outside or anything, and there was just complete chaos and hysteria that just getting any source of interaction was crucial to me. Like I haven't been on Facebook in years. Went back on Facebook so that I could at least engage with people that I may not have spoken to in a while, and like see how they're doing and have that interaction. Video chats have, I think, been pivotal for people who aren't around a bunch of people. And also, I feel like it also definitely depends based off of whether or not you live with family and you're with people versus being alone. Just being in my studio with my two cats, love them to death, but after a while, you want like an actual person that you could talk to nearby. And I live in an apartment, and I remember like when like no one was really leaving their home and everything. I would even get excited when I go downstairs and like do laundry, like in the laundry room that we have, and see a person, and it's like, oh, hi, I don't know who you are, how are things, just like have that conversation. I think just naturally human beings are social creatures. We are able to do things that no other species can do when we come into like these huge congregants of communities and civilizations. So I think that's really important. But then on the dating side, I would think that this would definitely, in my opinion, impact women more than men. I think that women are just better at communication in general, and a woman is especially like an older woman is not like looking to like play around, pandemic or not, no pandemic. So like especially during the pandemic, it's like you're gonna want to weed out the people who are real versus the ones who are looking to mess around a bit more than a man would do. And I think that you look at that extremity of a man and a woman, it's like women, it would be more so looking to like find like the extremity would be like, I want to find my husband, like I want to find someone to settle down with. And then for a man, I feel like the general consensus would be the complete opposite. I want to just go on a rampage, free for all, like just hooking up and all these other things. And so like when I look at that, and then I think about the pandemic, and the fact that people are cooped up and learning to like date and communicate a bit differently, I would think that men would probably want to kind of go more towards the middle, but still like kind of looking to mess around, but keeping in mind that it's probably going to be a lot more difficult to do, given that people are having people over and all these other things, let alone a stranger. So I would think that they would just be messing around and having fun, and probably wanting to interact, but like probably also want to make sure that when they do interact, it's like quote unquote worth it.
So from what I heard you say, I have a couple of questions from your statements there. So you're saying a lot of men nowadays are sexually frustrated.
I would imagine.
And with that being said, I'm not speaking for all women of different ages, because when you're in your early 20s versus early 30s, it's different. So just letting the women who are listening out there that you can tell if someone that you're on a date with is sexually provocative. And if you just want to hook up, that's great. But if you deserve better, then be honest with yourself and don't think you're going to change someone that put on his profile he's looking for casual, but you want a relationship. Don't do it. You're not going to change his mind. And also, speaking in regards to just the relationship thing, yes, I want a relationship. Yes, I want to get married. Yes, I want kids, but I'm not that naive to see the first guy that I date and say, we have the same values and same wants, that I'm going to marry that guy. So that's just speaking for all the single ladies out there. Don't go for the douchebag, and you will know who the douchebag is.
Oh, but the douchebag is so fun.
they're so fun, but so like emotionally exhausting, you know, like you don't want to settle for second best. But in regards to that, like what you said with women, speaking for myself, that we bond with conversations. We also speak more words than men do. So when it comes to dating, that you want to start talking to someone, you want to converse with them, you want to have like philosophical conversations, banter, humor, all of that you can only do in person, I think.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to really feel connected and know that you and that person are gonna mesh well without being in person, you know? Like I can think
Mhm.
of a handful of times where like when I was dating where like I would have conversations with someone and we'd be messaging for like let's say like a week or two and it's like oh my god, this person is amazing. This person just gets me. It's like you even do the phone conversations and you're like wow, these are great phone conversations and then you finally meet up with each other and it's like oh my god, this person is awkward as
Done.
fuck. Awkward as fuck. Can't hold a conversation suddenly now that we're in person. And the energy is just completely different. Like it's just a different thing, you know?
Hmm. I think that raises a question, and that's really interesting that you experienced that too, because for me, I feel okay, I'm a texter, and if you're not a good texter, whatever, but that doesn't really translate to who you are as a person. So my question for you as a man is, other than obviously physical looks or humor or whatever, like what do you think about emotional compatibility and how do you know if you are emotionally compatible?
Well, I think emotional compatibility is crucial, super, super important. Because, you know, you can have someone that, like, you know, there's great physical attraction, who you think is funny, and all these other things. But, like, if they don't, you know, respond and, like, communicate, like, on a deep level, like, just on pivotal things in a way that meshes well with you, it's not going to work. You know,
Yeah.
like, it can maybe, you could probably get through it, like, you know, a couple months or whatever, but at a certain point you're going to be like I can't deal with you. You are annoying as fuck, you know? That's I think that's super important. I don't know, me personally, like when I think about dating, I feel like when I was young, you know, I was dumb, like I was all over the place, you know, sometimes physical was my main thing, sometimes, you know, I it was emotional and physical, but um definitely, you know, that was like in the forefront of my mind. And I think that, you know, I wasn't, you know, as, you know, thinking of putting that on the back burner and really prioritizing actually getting to know the person and like, you
Yeah.
know, establishing that foundation first and foremost. But then like as I got older, I feel like that was like, you know, the least of my worries. And I was more so concerned about, you know, just making sure that we actually connected on a deeper level.
Right. And so I remember, context for whoever's listening, that when I texted you about this guy that I was seeing, and he went back to his ex, which is, that's fine. You've been in a relationship before me. I can't do anything about it. But you did ask me the question, are you sending strong vibes? And I didn't respond with a question asking strong vibes person, like as my personality, or strong vibes like, hi, marry me.
Yeah, I think I was thinking more of the latter.
Oh, the marry me part?
Right.
Oh, okay. So, like, how can you tell that as a guy when you're dating someone that they're just ready to pounce on you and is just desperate to settle down with anyone? Like, how can you tell?
If it's like specific to you or if it's just like anyone, you mean?
Just generally for women, because we get this thing where, you know, you have a strong personality or you're intimidating. So that's strong qualities versus, okay, you're sending these vibes that you're just ready to settle down with anyone. Like, how
Well,
can you?
Well, I think first and foremost, if you've only been talking to someone for like, let's say 2, 3 weeks, and they're like already using words like us or like talking about, somewhere to travel, or maybe with the travel, it would depend. Like if it's like, like a weekend getaway, I think that's okay. But if they're like talking about
Uh-huh.
like, oh, we should go to Paris together. Like, whoa, only known you for 2 weeks. That's quite the commitment. You want to get on a plane with me? You want me to book a hotel with you? Like,
That's called love bombing.
oh, I've never heard that term.
Yeah, I just heard about it where there's guys out there that just say, I love you and I see myself with you. And I only say that because it's happened to my best friend. Sorry to go off topic, but just short that she was dating this guy, and the first date he was saying that I love her, and she didn't tell me because she didn't want me to, like, I don't know, judge her for whatever reason. And I'm like, I don't care. But at the end of the day, he turned out to be an asshole anyway. So yeah, I guess I think that's a red flag.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, one thing that I personally would recommend, I don't know your thoughts, but when you're dating and everything, and this goes for both parties, I guess, but I think more so for women. I would say don't make it easy for them. Make them work, make them prove themselves. I would say just know your worth, and know that at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out and the person ghosted, or if you just you don't think it works on your end, like, don't kill yourself over it. Like, I think dating and other things, working out and all these other things, we always kill ourselves and like blame ourselves if things don't go particularly how we wanted them to. But that's just, it is what it is. And you just gotta keep it moving and know that it is what it is. But if you just keep doing the things that you enjoy, and prioritizing, friends and family, that, when you're not even thinking about it, that's when things will start going your way and things will just work out.
Exactly. Preach. You got to take care of yourself first and let the man do, well, not the work, like, I think it's like, it's both parties, but at dating, let the man be a man. And the example I have is this guy, I'm going on a date tonight and it's pouring out, and he messages me saying, I'll pay for your Uber to go on our date. And me being independent, I say, no, I can go there in the rain and get my hair wet. And then I thought about it because he messaged back. He's like, it really doesn't bother me, but it's up to you. So I thought to myself, let him be a man. He wants to be a man. He wants to take care of you. So I said, okay, maybe I'll take you up on it when I go home. But you're right. You're right. Let the man do it. And this is what you said is just great advice for all women of all ages. And I definitely resonate with that now as I'm older, but back then, younger, I probably would have not understood. Love it.
So what would be your advice to people currently dating? Like, what's the lesson that you've learned that you think might help someone?
I guess it depends on their circumstances, but just speaking on behalf of women generally, that, when something fails, I mean, let's just be honest. When you go into a date, a relationship, you're going to risk getting hurt. You're going to risk it's not going to work out. He doesn't want to be with you. But if you don't take that risk, then just be an amoeba and like just be by yourself. It's like, that's a risk we're all going to take. So the important thing is just focusing on your internal happiness and don't blame it on yourself, which in the past I've always thought maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe I'm not skinny enough, or maybe, I'm not having the career that I want, but that's not the case. And that's the hardest part, is when you start blaming yourself. But like you said, it is what it is, and you just got to move on.
Beautiful, beautiful. Rothie, aka Speedy, thank you for joining.
Yeah, this is so much fun. Thank you.